I wanted to make the show conversational, like we were just hanging out in the diner after work and
Yeah,
talking
no, I
about
think
whatever, so it was interesting. I like that. I mean, you're always welcome to come on. If there's anything you want to talk about now, we could do it. Sure.
ask me something. I don't know.
You're the one that said you had all these stories.
Well, I don't just, hi, I have a story for you. Have I got a story for you? Well, one of the things that came up, and it was interesting, I belong to this group on Facebook. It's an I Love Lucy. Actually, there's a couple of them.
I think I'm on one of those, yeah.
And there was this thing came up that I Love Lucy, what Rolling Stone did their best TV shows of all time. And I Love Lucy was at number 36. And so the I Love Lucy fans were infuriated by this, but they didn't actually read the story. And the story started, it's only like two or three paragraphs, but it started out to say that, if it was just about historical importance or importance to the medium, I Love Lucy would have come ahead of The Sopranos, which they picked as the number one show, because it was so important.
They didn't break it down between drama and comedy?
No, it didn't. It just put everything together. So, I think that when you talk about, especially we talked earlier about younger people, they have this thing about black and white that scares them, I guess. And just, Friends and things like that, it's just much more relevant to today. When you watch things like I Love Lucy now, some of them are not that great, funny. Others are brilliant. But you have this thing, Lucy's getting spanked.
Yeah, that would always bother me. Even as a kid, it bothered me.
The whole thing about him preventing her from a job that she wants to do, and in certain plots and things where she does get on stage, she's wonderful. And it's depending on what they're going for, in that particular episode, but when she sings that Cuban Pete number with him, and she's like she's like Ginger Rogers. She's great. She can dance. She can sing.
Yeah. You always said, well, why doesn't he want her in the show? Look at her. She's much better than Fred Ethel.
When Nick at Night started, there was a doctor. He was from New Jersey.
Oh, yeah, Dr.
Will?
Dr. My sister, hold on. Hang on. Sis, can I call you right back?
Yeah. Are you filming?
Yeah. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I wanted to ask you about the chicken. Okay, bye.
All right, I'll call you back. Bye.
Chicken. But I'm just, he said that this was part of a, the woman trying. And
Dr. Will Miller.
The same thing happened in Bewitched, that the husband is trying to keep the woman from doing being herself.
Mm-hmm.
He wants her to be what he wants her to be. And so, anyway, I think this stuff comes through more for younger people than it does for older ones. We're used to this show and watching and growing up with it. But they see it as they see some of this stuff as just being very odd and disturbing. They see everybody smoking. They see, so there's a lot of stuff in there that doesn't.
Well, they were sponsored by Philip Morris,
right,
so
it doesn't resonate as much with younger people. Now, I still think even with that, even all of that taken into consideration, I Love Lucy should have been higher than number 36. But I think it's just a great thing.
Well, Persky brought that up too. He talked about the evolution of women on television, and she, he brought up Lucy, but he also brought up Mary Tyler Moore as the archetype for the woman emerging as an equal. And then he moved to that girl who was the first, which he also created as the first independent woman. Then Kate and Allie, who were totally not dependent on men. So
I know from that girl being the first woman living alone and going for a career and all this stuff. And then Mary Tyler Moore came just a few years later and was, a woman who was not married and didn't immediately seem like, she wanted the career.
Right.
And that was the period. That was the era. That's what was going on. People were talking about stuff like this.
But it was comedy that moved them all ahead. That's the thing that drives me nuts about people who disrespect comedy.
Yeah.
Comedy's been on the forefront of every social movement.
I mean, when people say All in the Family couldn't be done today, it probably would not. It could be done. I mean, the show still holds up, but it's still kind of it's almost a nostalgic thing, really. And we add that to it now. We don't like hearing these words, but it worked. It worked, I think. And I think that people now they're so touchy about everything. And we mentioned earlier, I didn't see Italians, I didn't see this, I didn't see that. People say they didn't see gay people or whatever, or as they were used as jokes. That show was just trying to gently nudge us forward by exposing us to these things. And the first thing I ever heard about the ozone layer was on All in the Family. I mean, that's the first.
Yeah, that's right.
And you figured, oh, we're going to bring people together and we're going to cure this, and because All in the Family is doing, and all these problems are still worse now than they ever were. So I don't know how much that we're aware of it, but did we do anything? I don't know.
We're aware of it because of comedy. That's my point.
I agree.
And I say going even back to Mark Twain, really basically the first stand-up. And
I think it helps when people can relax and laugh. I mean, I think people are much more relaxed when they're laughing and they take in something. Now, whether they want to do anything about it or not, that's different. But they're learning about something that would have been hard otherwise. And when you see it in a drama, you feel like you're being preached to.
Yeah, that's right.
With comedy, you feel like it's just.
I'm watching. I'm binge watching the series NYPD Blue now, and which still holds up. It's remarkable how well it holds up.
Very good show.
Huh?
It was a very good show. I mean, a lot of was that 80s? A lot of those. 80s,
yeah, it was post Hill Street. It was a couple of years after.
Very good shows, and then But then I think what happened after the premium cable channels came up with The Sopranos and things like that, the networks really couldn't compete anymore.
No, they couldn't. But they dealt with the dawning of the AIDS crisis on Hill Street, on NYPD Blue, and they called it the bug because nobody really, and it was still a gay disease there, and the characters that had it were gay, and it was very. I mean, it really brought me back to that era, and just the horror of. How people were treated like lepers back then.
Yeah, I think it's I mean, it's kind of painful even now to look at stuff like that because if you live through that era, it was pretty unimaginable.
But it's necessary, I think.
Yeah.
I
think if you can do it without making people, oh, those poor people, if you can actually make them feel like they're in that situation themselves, let them feel it in that way, it's so much more powerful.
Well, that's the beauty of comedy, is because we draw our audiences into it, and we make it palatable to them so that they can relate to whatever it is we're talking about.
Yeah,
and yet we're still second-class citizens in the show business hierarchy.
I don't know.
It makes me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think sitcoms have always been they're such a staple of television, and they evolved. I mean, it took a long time. From Lucy to Seinfeld to start deconstructing and playing around with the format a little, but that's because Lucy was so good. But the stuff with the dramas, it's hard.
I know.
It's hard to compete with these shows that can do anything and say anything and whatever.
Well, I've kept you way longer than you.
Way longer than and I have to scrape my face with something here.
But you're gonna have to shave if you stay on any longer here.
Oh, all right, so I'll see you at some point in the next 2 months or so.
Thank you. By the way, I should let you know you're our first bonus track.
What's that?
You're our first bonus track. You're the first one we've done after show conversation. He recorded this whole thing, so we're probably gonna pull out chunks of it. So
next time I'll tell you some stories that'll curl your toes.
Well, the next time, I will. There's a couple of people we want to have back up. This is only like our 7th show, so. We're still finding our footing, but I like the conversational aspect of it. I just, wherever it goes,
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, I love you, Mr. Ervolino.
You too. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye, honey.
Bye.
Bye.